But the solution is not going to be central banks and governments. And I think people are waking up to the fact that central banks and governments are the problem. So they can't provide a solution. Wednesday, June 12th, 2024, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. We're going to look at central bank digital currency, or CBDC, today. And why I think they won't last that long. They won't work because they don't solve the underlying nature or problem of our current monetary system. And that is that our current system is a fraud and a sham. And I'm going to talk about the day I realized that. It was like an epiphany. It was very... I wasn't reading a book or anything or talking to people. It's really interesting how sometimes when you see things that don't make sense, you need to ask questions. And it, of course, got me going down the rabbit hole. Before I start, just like to thank all of you for your interest in the channel. And for those of you who haven't yet, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button. If you enjoy a particular video, make sure you share it. And also make sure you hit that little notification bell to be notified of all my new videos. I make them regularly. And also, if you like to help the channel, there are several different ways in which you can do that, and they're all below in the description of all my videos. So let's start with the day I realized our monetary system was nothing but a fraud. And I use that term, because it is, and you will see why. Because if you and I did that kind of stuff, it would be a fraud. But when the central bank and the government do it, it's not. You won't get the serious fraud office here in the UK go after the Bank of England or the Treasury, but they will go after you. And therein lies the problem. So when was the date that I realized that our system was... our monetary system really wasn't a monetary system. It was a fraudulent currency system. Well, it was very mundane. It was just another day at work. And I used to work in the City of London. At the time, I was working for ABN AMRO Bank in the Futures and Options department. I was a government bond futures and options broker for institutional clients. And we were, at Bishopsgate, if you know the City of London, 199 Bishopsgate. And around 12 o'clock, 12:30, we went to, we didn't all go out at once because the markets don't stop. There's always got to be someone at the desk. But I went to get my lunch and paid for my lunch. I was walking back and putting some of my currency or money back in my wallet. And at the time, it was 2003 or something. I don't remember, 2002. And I had already started looking into the monetary system, into gold, into silver, because I just started buying my first gold coins. But one thing that caught my attention was the Bank of England note. And at the time, if you remember, they were not made of this plastic material or plastic-like material. And they were bigger, so you could see things better. You can still see it today, but it's really small. But I looked at it and I saw below where it says Bank of England, this sentence, and I'll read it. It's still here, and it's very small though. I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £20. So there you go. It's still there. It's over here. And it's also, if I'm not mistaken, it doesn't look like it is. Oh yeah, it's signed by the chief cashier, as you can see here. So what it's basically saying is that normally if you put your money in a bank, and by money I mean gold and silver coinage, they'll give you one of these. And it's easier, I guess, if you've got a lot of gold and silver, just to use this. It's more convenient, right? Just like CBDC and digital currencies are supposed to be more convenient. But at the same time, if I want to go back to the bank, I can go to the cashier and ask him for my money. And that's how it used to be. I've got a book here about the Rothschilds back in the 19th century. It was written in the 1800s. And it talks about the time when Nathan Rothschild, the first Rothschild in London, actually went to the Bank of England with pound notes and demanded that they pay the bearer in sovereigns. He was there for like over a day because he thought there was a problem with the Bank of England. So that's how it used to be. But when I saw that about 20 years ago or more, I thought to myself, what do they actually pay you with? 20 pounds of what? And the first thing I did when I got back in the office was call the Bank of England. Yeah, I called their main switchboard, and I told them what I wanted to talk about, and they said, "Well, we'll pass you on to the press office." And I asked the guy at the press office. I told him I had a banknote and that it said I promised to pay the bearer this on demand the sum of 20 pounds or 10 pounds or 5 pounds. And I asked him, what do you pay in? And he said, we don't pay in anything. That was back under the gold standard. You could come and with your pound note, you could get a gold sovereign. And I said, so why do you still keep that promise? And he said, well, nowadays it means that you can bring an old 20-pound note and it'll give you a new one, which makes no sense whatsoever. So what I'm trying to say here, they kept that promise despite the currency being empty, an empty promise. And that's why it's a fraud. And when I saw that and I realized it, I knew there was something wrong. And I knew that things weren't going to get better. And lo and behold, a few years later, of course, we had an existential crisis of the whole banking system, which is completely linked to the currency, to the central bank and to money. And that's why I don't think a CBDC will work. And why is that? Well, central bank, right? That's the main thing that you need to think about here. Why a central bank digital currency? Well, because the prior currency, the one that we have and that we keep in commercial or private banks, will be finished. So there will be no credibility in the system. So the powers that be think that putting everything into the central bank system will solve the problem, that people will say, oh, central banks are fine. They are credible. And I would say, to me, a central bank is as credible as a big 5-star hotel in terms of issuing currency, because that's all they are. They're just imposing buildings and palaces, right? Like the headquarters of the New York Federal Reserve at 33 Liberty Street. Yes, it looks like a Renaissance, Italian Renaissance castle, but it's got nothing of value in it. A hotel actually has something of value because it provides somewhere for you to stay as a tourist or a business person or whatever. So that's why CBDC is just is another further scam from this. It's when the whole system implodes because they've issued and borrowed too much. They've issued too many of these out of thin air, and there's nothing to back it. And you indebt the economy so much that the economy is on its knees, like it's now. We just had UK data. The UK economy is down the dumps. Industrial manufacturing production was negative. GDP only grew at 0.6% year on year. We saw yesterday that unemployment has gone up. There's millions of people that are not working because of the ill health. And some people might say, well, that doesn't mean the economy is bad. Well, I would argue it's the opposite, because if there were plenty of jobs that paid for you to be able to survive and earn a living, people wouldn't be as depressed and ill. And I think that's what it's all about. And we are near the end of that system. So what would be the solution? Well, the solution is to go back to barter, because that's how things started. Exchange started with barter, when people exchanged real goods for real goods, or real services for real services. And then eventually, by trial and error, they found out that there was something that everyone always wanted that was the most marketable commodity. And it can be anything. It can be conches, it can be cows, it can be salt. The word salary comes from that. It can be cigarettes, like it was at the end of World War II in Germany. It can be liquor. It can be anything that a lot of people want. And eventually, though, through trial and error, the market found that people always desired more gold and silver, and that it was accepted as indirect exchange for goods and services. It would be acceptable when you couldn't match needs and offers of products, right, through barter. And why is that? Well, because people realized that through time, gold and silver held their purchasing power. Yes, they fluctuated versus goods and services, but over the centuries and millennia, it was still there, and people still wanted it. Yes, they keep trying to tell us that it's a barbarous relic, that no one really wants gold and silver, but I think that's going to be the only way back to sanity, monetary sanity, but it will be chaotic. It will be first through barter, and that's why being part of a tight-knit community is really important as well in a currency collapse. And I think CBDC, they might be able to bring it in for a while, but it will fail. And why will it fail? Well, because we've gone from bartering value for value, being honest with each other voluntarily, and then we've gone to money, right? Be it whatever, but in the West, it's been for thousands of years gold and silver. And then they told us, oh, take these because they're more convenient. And then at one point they said, oh, we just take these. You won't be, don't worry about the real money, gold and silver. And in the last 50 years, they told us, take these cards, they're just more convenient than these credit cards or debit cards. And then they told us, just have an online account. It's much more convenient than the cards. And now they're going to tell us a central bank digital currency is a lot more convenient, and it might be, but it's not money, and it's going to fail. And when it will happen, I don't know, but there's only one way to be prepared for it, is to be able to produce something of value, be it goods, services, be it on a farm, be it through education, and have a tight-knit community. It's not going to be easy, I don't think, for a while. And eventually people will realize that there are things that everyone wants. But the solution is not going to be central banks and governments. And I think people are waking up to the fact that central banks and governments are the problem. So they can't provide a solution. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to recommend a book that I think is really good to understand where we are right now in terms of money and currency. And it's this one here, What Has Government Done to Our Money, by Murray and Rothbard. I'm going to put a link to a free PDF in the description, and a link as well to the Mises Institute where you could buy this book. And this is an economics book, but you don't need a PhD nor a degree in economics to read it. It's really, very good book, I would say. And I think the world would be a much better place if people understood what is really going on in terms of currency and money. So let's quickly look then at where the markets are this morning. And today, of course, the markets could be quite choppy and volatile. We've got the CPI at 8:30 Eastern time in the US, 1:30 p.m. UK time. And then we have the Fed FOMC decision. They're not going to change rates, but what they say is going to be more important. And also Chairman Jay Powell's press conference later on. So right now it's just before 8 a.m. We got spot gold at 23.17. It's up half a dollar actually. The high's been 18, the low's been 10. Silver is it's catching up slightly. Yesterday it had a rough day. We're at 29.41, up about 14 cents or 0.5%. High's been 50, low's been 17. The stock market is fairly steady. It's up slightly, so I won't go through them. So are the currencies. What about the other commodities, the non-monetary commodities? Well, WTI crude is up 0.75% at 78.20, and Brent crude is up 0.2% at 82.20. High-grade copper is up 0.5% at 451.82. And I noticed yesterday that treasury yields dropped. There wasn't really any big economic data that came out yesterday, but for some reason, bond yields dropped. The 10-year dropped to like around 4.40. And the previous day, it was almost up to 4.5%. So that's where we are right now. And with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.